I didn't look at the numbers today, and of course, we're always looking at this. As wonderful as the day is, we all know it's going to be a long time between today and people booking more travel. It's just because there was an announcement, which we all are so thankful for. We all have such a debt of gratitude to all the scientists and everybody who's working on this. It's great. But the fact is, there's still a terrible, terrible pandemic out there, and people still know that it's not safe to go out in many places, and you need to wear a mask and socially distance. And those government restrictions that prohibit travel are still up there in a lot of places. So yes, incredibly positive day today, but there's still a long, long road ahead of us before we get back to where we were.
Still, you just would think it would have an impact on consumer sentiment. If I know I can take a trip next summer, then I'm going to book it when prices are still low. How does this change the 2020 and 2021 projections for you?
Well, it doesn't really. You know, we did our earnings call last week, and we talked last week about how we think it's going to be years, not quarters, before we recover 2019. The fact is, we talked about how in the 7 days before I did that earnings announcement last week, we saw reported room nights down 70% from the year before. And the reason, of course, is because the virus is continuing to increase. The infections are going up. People are getting sick, and government restrictions are increasing. So absolutely, people saying, okay, I feel safe. I'm going to book my travel for the summer. But there's some people who will do that. But a lot of others say, well, let me wait and see. I mean, I hear that the vaccine is not going to be available so soon, and when am I going to get it, and when's it going to be safe? So there's a lot of uncertainty out there, and I am not going to change what we said last week in the sense that it's going to take time.
Well, in fact, you said it's going to take years for travel to return to normal. Is it still years, you think?
Well, I think so, and this is not that different than we've been saying the whole time. We've been saying the whole time we were all hopeful that there'd be an approved vaccine in the fourth quarter, hopefully. Certainly, we all thought by the first quarter, hopefully. And we've been thinking that the whole time. We've been listening to the same news that it goes everybody listens to. And we all know, though, that actually distributing it and getting that, let's call it world immunity to really make it safe for everybody, it's going to take some time. But of course, it will be an upward trend, and we're very positive about that. And who cannot be happy about today's day? I mean, it is just wonderful news. And thanks not only to the scientists, but how about those 40,000 people who stepped up and volunteered to test this vaccine, and all the people testing all the other ones that'll be coming down the turnpike very soon, I think.
Glenn, you announced recently around about 20% headcount cuts. Can you explain a little bit more detailed which areas they're focused on? Is it the tech side? Is it the sales side? Will those jobs come back, or is it something that will allow you a structural change long term?
You know, we've talked about how it's so unfortunate that we've had to let people go, and we're right in the middle of still letting people go. And unfortunately, that's not going to change because most of the people who had to be let go are totally volume related. And we have to make the size of the company equal the amount of business there is. And that, unfortunately, is not going to come back tomorrow any more than all of a sudden we're going to have demand equal to what it was in 2019. It's going to take a long, long time. So it is sad, but unfortunately, there's still a lot of people who've lost their job. They're not going to get it back right away. And that's why we continue to say we really think that, yes, vaccine is the #1 thing first to get out, but then we need governments. We need governments to come forward with aid, with plans to help prime the pump and travel. And some governments are doing it. Japan, for example, it's safe there to travel, and they had programs that we're working with that's helping to give incentives to people to travel. We've been doing it with the government of Thailand. I really hope that in this period right now, in this period as we get towards that inauguration, that the House and the Senate can get together and then the administration come together and put forward a plan to help the travel industry that's been hurt so terribly by this.
Glenn Fogel, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.